Hey, yo, what is good, guys? Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the weekly video where I'm giving you guys the top stock picks and everything you guys need to know about the market to start off your week strong and potentially make a lot of money next week. With that being said, man, I wanted to start off with showing you guys the SPY on the 1 day time frame. Let's use a different platform just so it's a little bit cleaner. But with that being said, man, we have been itching up higher countless of times and we have been having some big dip on the way to the upside. And that's what we've seen previously. We had a dip recently and we finally made a little breakout on Friday. And honestly, can we itch up higher, or is this going to be a bigger dip to the downside? Like we seen in April, see a decent gap upwards, and we were gapping upwards even more. And then the dips kind of looked a little bit like bigger to say. But with that being said, man, we did have a decent sell off from those tariffs. With that being said, though, we are in talks with China over the week and it is going pretty good so far. But they are meeting up again this Sunday. So I will be updating you guys on the X account. Whatever happens during these trade talks can make or break the market on Monday. And depending on the news that we might potentially get, it can potentially bring the market down or higher. So honestly, man, just wait and see and be updated with that news that happens with the trade talks, because that can either help us continue or sell off even more. But right now, we do look like we are overdue for a breakout to new all-time highs, which we got on Friday, and we could potentially continue up a little bit more and then potentially watch that 680 level on the SPY. And then if we can get up a little bit higher, we might get up to like 682 to like 685 and then make a break below 680 for another pullback like we had before, and then potentially just keep on getting new all-time highs as we go. But talking more about the market before we get to some stocks, let's look at the fear and greed, because this has been moving a little bit. We have been in extreme fear a couple of times, and honestly, man, we're finally back into the fear zone, and we can potentially get to neutral if this market rally keeps on rallying. To say, if we go to the Fed Watch tool, we have a 98% chance of a rate cut in a couple of days, literally coming up very, very soon. So stay tuned for that, because that can pump the market even more. But if Jerome comes out with this government shutdown and says that he needs more data, or just cautious about the data and he wants to wait, that can bring markets down a decent amount. But right now we're pricing in a 98.3% chance. Basically, the market is pricing in a rate cut for the 29th already. And then if we go to the earnings calendar, we do have some bigger stocks like Apple, Amazon. I'm very, very pumped for Thursday after close, and that can move the market a decent amount, especially with the way Apple has been moving. I think to like start this week, or I think last week or something like that, Apple did have a big push to the upside and move the overall market as well. But we have some other ones like Meta and Microsoft that can be big as well. That did move markets a decent amount last time, moving like 50 plus bucks. And honestly, man, mainly for this week, look at Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, and Apple, and some other plays that you can make, potentially Verizon, Boeing. Those are some good stocks to look at. Caterpillar did pretty good recently. PayPal, UPS. We got like $10 trillion in one earnings week right now, and that is insane. So please stay tuned for that. Getting over to the stocks, we're going to talk about Apple first. Apple has been breaking out a decent amount. With that being said, I have been watching Apple and Nvidia, kind of comparing the two. And honestly, Apple has been moving a little bit slower when Nvidia has been coming back a decent amount. Nvidia is a stock to watch as well, but I'm not going to add that to the list because everybody talks about Nvidia. But I would recommend looking at Nvidia as well, because Nvidia did make a breakout finally. When Nvidia was moving slow, AMD was kind of bypassing it and stuff like that. But honestly, first off is Apple, because they have some strong iPhone demand. A recent report indicated that a new iPhone 17 lineup outsold the previous generation by a notable percentage. And in the US and China during its initial days of availability. So it has been pumping the market a decent amount, getting us to new all-time highs and breaking them, getting to 263. And honestly, holding the 260 level a decent amount. We were below it for a couple of days, but honestly, Friday was a good day for Apple, and we're back above and maybe potentially can make a new all-time high past that 265 level. But stay tuned for that. I do not recommend trading longs right now unless you do see a break of the new all-time high and potentially itching up higher. But a lot of things, man, this is a kangaroo market, and I have been noticing that if you play puts off of all-time highs and even these levels, you can make a decent amount of money. And honestly, get some time on that contract and you can make a decent amount of money. That's what I've been doing, and I've been making a decent amount of money with that, playing calls and puts off of some key levels. And Apple and Nvidia are two good stocks to watch. So next one on the list is going to be SMCI. So AI demand has been honestly getting bigger and bigger. SMCI, Nvidia, and AMD has been some good stocks that has been benefiting off of this. But right now we are kind of moving a little bit slower than the rest of the market in the previous days, especially if you look at Friday, man. Friday didn't really move too much. We did have a high and it started selling off a decent amount, but we are in some good levels that we can either make or break the stock. You could potentially play it lower. Look at the 47.4 level. If we break below this, you could potentially play put options. And then if we do start rallying back up and see a big candle with some big volume, you could play this one to the upside. So I do recommend looking at SMCI. Next one on the list is indeed Beyond Meat. This is a stock that has been on a lot of people's radar. It's a meme stock right now, has high volume coming out randomly, and it's on a lot of people's watch list. You see Yahoo talk about it all the time. Literally everybody is, and people are still trading it, and it's trading pretty decent. With that being said, though, I did indeed have a put option on that $7 level, and it made me a hefty amount of money. I sold it literally the same day. It got all the way down to 285. I feel like that, this might be able to settle at like a dollar maybe potentially after everything. But honestly, man, you can potentially see it back down to that 50-cent level as well. You can get like options deep out with a lot of time for like 10, 20 cents. And that ain't really that bad, especially if you hold it for a long time, maybe even like a year or two. You can potentially see that option become more profitable. But with a lot of volume and stuff like that, people are buying a lot of options on this. So right now, you could potentially still do a put option, maybe for that 150 to that $1 level, or more in the money, maybe a $3 put option. You can make a decent amount of money off of Beyond Meat. But honestly, I would not play it to the upside anymore, especially with the way we've been consolidating and breaking down even more. I do think it's going to go down lower. You might get, one more meme rally where it goes back up to maybe $6 to $7. And if you do not play it to the upside, only play it to the downside. And honestly, watch that $6 to that $5 and even that $8 level for some more put options. Next one on the list is going to be Ford. So they did have some good news overall and good earnings, and had an earnings continuation to the upside. So honestly, this one you could potentially play to the downside as well with a lot of patience though. But honestly, man, Ford is looking pretty good for the long term, especially if you play to the upside, maybe looking at that 14.20 to that 14.80, maybe even $15. That could be a good little $1 move on your shares. This is maybe like a share one, but you can also play some options, especially to the downside. If we do start selling off, you could potentially see it fall below that 13.30. If we fall below that, you might even get down to 13 to 12.80. So Ford is a good one to watch, but just be cautious with this one. This one is just like Beyond Meat, where you might play a put option and it might spike up some more, and or the opposite. Next one, Google. The reason why I'm adding Google to the list is because Google just been having back-to-back good news. And honestly, it's been looking pretty good in the short term, especially if you want to play some call options. But I do recommend waiting maybe to that 255 to like maybe even 250 level. And see if it breaks below it. But if it holds that 250 level again, you guys can play a longer term call option. That is what I'm personally looking at. See if we can fall down to that 250 and see how it tests that 250 level. And if we break below it, that just means more patience. But this is a stock that I'm having on my watch. I'm not shorting this stock whatsoever, even though, we might get back up to like 260 and then break below it, or break below the 260 and then maybe continue down more. But this is just a stock that I'm not going to be shorting, especially, man, like news came out and then you're like, okay, news might be over for Google. And then it's just been back to back good news and back to back low key. Next one is going to be Bitcoin, but not trading overall Bitcoin, but Bitcoin has been honestly just consolidating a little bit, and you can watch the range that has been moving in like that 114 to like that 112, and then it falls down to like 108 to 107. And honestly, if you really think about it, Bitcoin has been moving pretty slow. And what if people just start selling randomly? What if people just start selling? You can potentially see it break below 100K, but I don't think it's going to break below 100K at all, and not even anytime soon. But this range is a pretty good range to watch it in. If we break back above 114 and if we continue to rally, I'd be patient, and please be updated with the news overall, because if you're not updated, you might get washed. With that being said, to the downside, if you do want to play to the downside, play some put options from that 114 going down to maybe just that 109 to that 110 level. You can still make a decent amount of money. Or if you have more balls, you can play it a little bit lower. But a stock that I'm watching is going to be IBIT. It's an ETF that moves with Bitcoin. And honestly, this one's basically just going to move exactly with Bitcoin. If you're looking at other stocks like Coin, MSTR, they can have different different like movements overall, but IBIT is one that I watch and the options are relatively cheap. And I do recommend trading this one. And if you do trade it potentially 3 weeks to like a month out, just to have safety with your options. I do not recommend playing same weeks because honestly, Bitcoin can move differently. But like when we went up to 114, it was worth $64. And then we fell down nearly the same day to close. We went down to like 63, which would have gave you like $1 move to the downside. And that would have made you a decent amount of money, especially with the delta on these. They look pretty good. With that being said, though, thank you for watching the video. Smash the like button. Check me out on X, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.